Hello and welcome to this 5-part video series on creating an effective narrative. Each of these videos aims to focus on a particular tip or technique that young writers can use to make their writing more engaging. Now, when it comes to writing a narrative, the most important thing to remember at all times is that it's a form of entertainment and it's designed to engage people, not put them to sleep. So think of it like a movie or a TV show and think about how you're going to make it exciting and jump off the page. The 3 words to keep in the back of your mind when it comes to story writing are that it needs to be memorable, it needs to be engaging, and a good story always has an emotional connection of some sort. So really think about how you can bring that in. Let's look at our first tip. Less is more. Now this might sound a bit silly, but it's a really important thing to keep in mind, because when it comes to story writing, particularly short stories, so many people try to put in too many events and too many characters, and therefore they make the story tedious and boring. Consider this. You want to make a story about a bank robbery. Wow, doesn't that sound exciting? Bank robbery. Oh, I can just imagine it. But the biggest mistake that most writers make is that when they come to writing their story, they think about their character getting out of bed in the morning. And they write a little bit about that, the softness of the sheets and the pillows and the clock and everything like that. And then, of course, their character has breakfast. And then they get into the car, and then they drive down the road, and then they stop and pick up a coffee on the way. And then when they've drunk their coffee, then they go across to the bank. They walk into the bank, they make their deposit, they get their money out, they look at the time, gee, I've got to get out of here, and then they start heading towards the exit, and as they're walking out, the robbery begins. Now this is a classic mistake in storytelling, where people focus too much on the little details before the excitement actually begins. Who cares how the person got out of bed? Who cares what they had for breakfast? It doesn't matter that they got into their car. It doesn't even matter how they got there. So it certainly doesn't matter the journey of them getting there. It doesn't matter what they drank or ate before going in there, unless it's going to be a plot element, like they're going to throw up latte all over the bank robber. But in this case, we would assume it doesn't matter. It might matter perhaps what the bank looks like, maybe, but it certainly doesn't matter that they were late or looking at their watch or what they were going to do after the bank. And it doesn't even matter that they were heading towards the exit. When we think about the guts of a great story, you should really be aiming to start simple and jump straight into the action. So if we refine what we've got here, we can see that we open with the shot of a bank. We've got someone there making a deposit, and next thing you know, there's a bank robbery. But you know what? Who even cares about what the outside of the bank looks like? Let's just focus on the fact that once upon a time there was a person in a bank and someone decided to rob it. You want to jump straight into the action. None of this tedious build-up where people are waking up or eating breakfast or travelling. None of that stuff is going to be memorable, and none of that stuff is going to really engage the reader. Jump into the action straight away. And if you're writing for 1,000 words, write your 1,000 words about that robbery, the action, the bit that people want to know about. Don't write about, the boring stuff. So when you think about this, it's really about more description and detail and less events and characters. Okay, it's something really important to think about. When it comes to your characters, think about how you develop them. Again, a massive issue that people make is they have too many characters and they describe them in a really superficial way. They might say, this person's tall and they've got brown hair, and this person's nice and they're shy and this kind of business. But again, you have to think about what really creates that person and makes them who they are. You need details in your storytelling because that's what's going to make it memorable. If someone's tall, think about why they're tall or how that affects them. Tall like everyone in her family except her mother. If they've got brown hair, perhaps it was cut too short, so she always has to brush it out of her face. And when people talk about your story, they're going to talk about how annoyed they got with your character and that she could never leave her hair alone. Blue eyes that tear up whenever she feels like someone's looking at her. Imagine how that would work in the bank, how your character would actually respond in the bank if all of a sudden a bank robbery occurred and then she was taken as a hostage and everyone started looking at her. She'd automatically tear up. Think about what makes them distinctive. If she's nice, is it because she's trying to please people and is afraid of conflict? Or is it because she's genuinely nice? Does she really want nothing? What's her motivation if she's shy? Is it because she doesn't want to cause anything that would make her look bad? If she's curious, is this because she's ashamed of herself, or is this something she can or can't control? Really think about your characters. It's an important thing, and at the end of the day, that's what people are going to remember, not how they got out of bed or what they had for breakfast. So again, think about using less characters, but the characters that you have should have more detail and more background to them so that they feel like real people. Take the time to create content that is distinctive, engaging, and memorable, and do not allow your characters to be forgotten, because at the end of the day, that's what the storytelling is all about. Hopefully this tip has come in handy, and check out some of the other videos for further tips on how you can make your narrative more engaging.